This is how we saddle hunt. I've got these sticks that go on top of this truck box right here. And then in the truck box, I carry these to the destination, my saddle platform and my saddle. Casey, show us how we get to the tree.
Distributing the weight across your back while you're walking in is a pretty important thing to do. Now there's two ways to kind of go in when you're saddle hunting. You can either wear your saddle or you can pack your saddle. And the way I decide is how far I'm going. If I'm not going very far, say a quarter mile, I'll wear my saddle in. If I'm going a mile, mile and a half, a lot of times I'll just put it in my pack and put it on when I get there. But having your sticks and your platform, I need a platform, please. So I'm gonna pack this like I'm going a long way in. I'm gonna start out by putting my platform inside of my pack because it's the last thing I'm gonna need out. I'm gonna take my saddle, I'm gonna roll that bad boy up, put it right on top like that. Make sure I got my jacket in there. I'm gonna attach the sticks. I'm gonna put 2 sticks on each side of the pack. You want to make sure that these standouts or tree grabbers, whatever you want to call them, aren't up against your back. You want to make sure and turn those 90 degrees. That way you don't have anything sticking on your back while you're walking in. It makes it to where they don't grab on trees and stuff or limbs while you're walking in as bad either when they're not facing directly forward. All right, now we're ready to walk in.
I'm gonna show you how to put on a saddle. This is the bridge, and you want to make sure it's in front of your waist as you go on. A lot of times when I step into a saddle, I'll step in with the bridge behind me, and it's a problem because once you get up into the tree and you've got a bridge behind you, it's gonna be real hard to get buckled in the tree safely. These cruiser saddles, the new ones have these, attachments for suspenders, which is pretty neat, especially for the trip in or something like that, if you don't want it to fall off your waist. Kind of got the suspenders loosely on here. Now this is what I typically do, is I put the waist belt on first. Make sure it's pretty snug. I don't like my saddle super tight, but I like it, tight enough, but I want it comfortable. Then these 2 things hanging down between my legs are thigh straps. You definitely want to have these on. These are a very big part of the safety of a saddle. And these things are super safe. I always feel comfortable in them. It just takes a little getting used to sometimes, but these clip in real quiet, real nice. So now I'm gonna put these suspenders together here. They just strap in here. You can take them on and off. And I just make sure that I've got those on. I'm good to go. Now we'll show you how to approach the tree.
When I'm walking in, looking for a place to hunt, scouting my way in, one of the things that I really like about saddle hunting is that every tree is an option for me. I can hang in every tree that I see in these woods. So that means I can hunt deer where they are as opposed to being limited by my setup. I like to look for trees that are near the spots that I need to take shots at. And I need to have an opening of some sort in the canopy to be able to get a shot down to a trail, a scrape, a rub, a fence crossing, whatever the case may be. This one right here is a great example of this. I've got open understory right here around this tree, shots out to like 25, and it's gonna make a really good spot at about 8 or 10 feet up. Now I've established this is the tree that I'm gonna hunt from. I like to leave my thigh straps just attached. That way I only have to do the waistband, but that's just me. So in my saddle, I have got a few different things. This is a lineman's belt. I'll show you how that works in a second. I also have my tether to the tree, which I won't use until I get up in the tree. But right now, I'm going to attach my lineman's belt to the tree. So what this is it is hitched on to these loops on my saddle right here, and it has a carabiner on this side on and a cinder right there. Okay, and that tightens down when it gets tension on it. I'm gonna take this, throw it around the tree, tighten it down just a little bit, and it's almost gonna look like I'm hunting. So I clip that into the loop there. It has bright red so you can see which one it's supposed to be. And now I'm able to lean against that. It keeps me safe. I'm not gonna fall down the tree, and I'm able to work with my hands as I'm climbing up the tree. If you wanted to, you can attach some other things to your saddle as well, like with rubber wire or other carabiners. There's lots of loops for attachment points, even some in the back here, and it allows you to attach your sticks or your platform or whatever else you might need on your way up.
So in mobile hunting, these are the sticks that we get up the tree with. These are actually really cool. They've got this steel rope that makes things really quick and a little bit of elasticity on that so that you can hang it. They are already like pre-cut so that they fit tight and snug on the hook there, and everything just nests in there well. So the first couple things I want to think about when I get to a tree, one is what side of the tree are the sticks going to go on. Actually, last time I drew an Iowa tag, which is just a coveted deer tag, I drew that tag and I go in on a ridge one morning and I hang my sticks on the uphill side of that ridge so that I can get more height up the tree. just so happens that I'm also hunting deer that are coming down the top of the ridge. So what does this buck do? He comes walking down the ridge, cruising for does, got his eyes up because it's an understory like this where you can see through it, and he sees my stick, and you can watch him follow up the tree and see me and spook out. So I always try to hide my sticks on one side or the other, away from where the deer are coming, if I can. And you also want to make sure that if you start them there, but you need to get around the other side, you can kind of work the sticks that way as you go up so that you can put your platform where you need it at the top as well. I'm going to put this to where one nice big step gets me on it. And I'm going to just hook that am steel in just like that, again on that side, and then you make a half hitch here to go around right there. And then string, I usually put the string behind the stick so you don't get too much mud on it and stuff. And then I usually will hang my bottom two sticks from the ground if I can. If I'm using 8ers, sometimes I can't. I've got to hang more space in between them. But we'll go ahead and lock in, like KC said, so that we can put the second one on and get a good space between the sticks. You want to seat them in like that before you step on them. Get a good bit of weight on them so that they don't shift on you when you get on top of them. And you always kind of test it like that, bounce on it, put some weight on it so that you can kind of seat it in even better, because the last thing you want is to fall down and kick out. So if it's seated pretty good, usually it won't fall down enough to kick out. Once we get up here, we're gonna put our platform on.
Yeehaw! So when you get to where you're gonna set your platform, there are some things that you have to keep in mind that matter when it comes to deer hunting. If you set this thing right in front of you where it's really easy to, all of a sudden, it makes it really hard to get from your sticks to your platform because it's out like this and suddenly it's pushing against your body. So you have to pick kind of a side of the tree or even all the way around the back side. I wouldn't suggest that either. What I really like to do is have my platform about 45 degrees from the top of my stick, and you don't want to do it too high. One of the things that I did when I was early on in my saddle hunting experience is I would try to get as much ground as I could on this tree with my platform, and then I had to take a huge step to get to my platform from the top of my last stick. It's not the safest thing to do, and it makes it really difficult to get down. About where your platform would be pretty close to even or just above your last stick is the perfect place for it, because you don't have to step too high. It's really easy to attach at that height. And also, you can even use your last stick as an extra extension of your platform if you have to take a really weird, awkward shot. I also need to consider what direction the deer are going to be coming from and going when I put my platform up. I've already kind of thought about that when I put my sticks on the tree, but you can fine tune it here and be ready for those shots. For me, as a right-handed shooter, my right side is my weak side. I don't want the deer to be on this side of the tree if I can help it. So I'm gonna set up anticipating the deer to be on my left side for my strong side as a shooter. And I want that to be at around the 9 o'clock angle. We'll talk about that more in a minute. So I'm gonna set my platform, send the strap around the tree. So you always wanna kind of maybe try to hang it a little bit high, knowing that you're gonna get a little bit of push down right there. Now the secret to getting a really solid platform is to not just cam it over and step on it. Actually, what you want to do, there's two ways of doing it. You can cam it over a few times, make it bite. You see how it's working its way down the tree. Or what I like to do is take my lineman's belt on up the tree like this, go around all your stuff, and then give that a good push with your foot on the top of the upright, and then cam it over, and now you are rock solid.
Once you're set up on top of your platform, usually the first thing I do is I put what's called the tether on. It goes and attaches to your bridge here. That was like one of the first things we talked about, the bridge. You want to make sure that that thing is in front of you by the time you're up here, right? Put that entire rope and your carabiner and everything else through this loop. And then I like to run it about chin high. There's different trains and schools of thoughts on this, but chin high seems to work for me. I feel like you get a lot of swing the higher you get, and so you just got to really understand what works for you. Try a couple of different positions. You'll have less swing, you'll have more comfort depending on the position. So I usually tighten this down pretty well, and then you can take, once you've got that attached in to your bridge, you can take the lineman's rope off. And easy does it. Sit back. It's real weird at first. I'm pretty used to it now. It doesn't bother me at all. And now I'm sitting in the saddle proper. I'm gonna tuck this back in here so it's not hanging down. I've got a bow hanger that sets above my tether rope here. You wanna make sure that that's the case, but at the same time, the higher it is, the higher you have to reach to get to your bow handle. So the more movement, right, when a deer's coming in. So if that handle is about right here at your waist, it's very natural and quick to get in there. Right now though, before I pull the bow up, I usually have ropes hanging off of my saddle, or I have something like this that I tie into a tree. This is what I call my public land hanger. When you can't screw something in, I tie this around. It's got a carabiner on it here, and I will pull up my bag, and then I will hook it into that carabiner there, and it sits off to my right and low so that it's out of the way of me getting shots. It potentially blocks the view that I might have, any movement from my legs or feet as I'm shifting around to get shots. It can block some of that view. And I typically will strap a lot of these straps in, make sure they're not blowing in the wind. So right now, what I'll do is I'll pull my bow up, hang it, and kind of show you what that looks like as well. I don't like to shoot with my quiver on. So one of the first things I usually do when I get the bow up to the tree is I pull the quiver off, hang the bow here. And again, I'm right-handed, so it is on my left side. The bag is on my right. And I will take this quiver and find a good place for it down in here. Once it's secure, bring that arrow out and get it on the string. Then the next thing I do is I'll pull my rangefinder out and I'll hit several spots where I anticipate deer to be, whether it's a trail or it's actually a feed tree or something that a specific spot that I think a deer is gonna be at. I'll hit these spots, try to memorize them to the 5s and 10s really. So if it's 34, I would probably shoot 30 at that deer, knowing that it might jump the string. If it's, 28, I might shoot my 30 low. If it's 42, I might shoot my 40. If it's, 38, I might still shoot my 40. So there's just different ways of thinking about it depending on conditions and all that. Again, like KC said, I'm looking to get shots in this direction. Even back here to like 6 is not a bad shot, but once you get any further back off your backside, it gets really difficult. So I really want most of my shots to be here. There are cases when that's not been what actually happened. It can be very difficult and stressful at times to make a good shot, but that's why we practice these things.
This is the fun part, shooting at deer from a tree. A lot of times people think of shooting from a tree stand or specifically a saddle like this, like a clock face. 12 o'clock would be directly at the tree. It's pretty much impossible to shoot something through a tree, so there's hardly any 12 o'clock shots. But then you have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, all the way around the clock face, right? So all of my strong shots are gonna be 11 through 6. My weak shots are gonna be 1 through about 5. There's a couple ways to do the weak side. I'll show you those in a second, but I really like the strong side shots. Some of my best shots that I can remember, I shot an 11 o'clock right here on a buck that was an awesome frontal shot that ran into a fence right as he died. It was one of the craziest things that's ever happened to me. Tyler and I both shot deer at 9 o'clock in Nebraska a few years ago on buck truck. The first buck truck episode, we doubled up that night and both put awesome shots on good deer at a 9 o'clock angle. I shot a 7 o'clock hog at like 45 yards or something like that, like a crazy poke on the biggest boar that I've ever shot. And then in Illinois buck truck, I had to shoot one of the more difficult shots of my life. It was like a 5 o'clock, but I had to shoot it this way from my strong side, if that makes sense. So I was all the way extended like this, and that's absolutely as far around as I care to go shooting this way. I really like to keep it at 6 o'clock, and it's way more manageable. Now, if I'm going to try to shoot something on my weak side and I have time to set up for it, I'll do 2 different things. Especially from the 1 to about 3 o'clock spot like this, you can just get away with bringing your bow over your bridge like that. And this is where bridges actually are really handy, because if you can see, that moves freely through the carabiner right here, and it allows me some flexibility. This is what gets difficult, all right? When you're shooting an offside shot or a weak side shot, you have to bring your bow over your bridge. That's a lot of movement, so you gotta be careful. But there's a 1 o'clock, 2 o'clock, and even 3 o'clock right here. You have to make sure and keep a good tee for those shots. 1 o'clock is extremely difficult. 3 o'clock isn't all that bad. But how I actually like to shoot 3 o'clock, instead of leaning out on my platform like that, I've shot like this quite a few times, where you just stand up on your platform. I actually shot my South Dakota buck truck deer like this. It was like a 36-yard shot, and it just felt perfect. It felt super natural, but I had to get set up in this position to take the shot. It's very difficult to get there, but once you're there, you just feel super solid. Another variant on that is what I call a seatbelt method. If you want a little bit more stability, You can take that tether and your bridge across your chest like that right there, and then you can lean out against that, and you are really rock solid for any of these weak side shots right here.